Joe McCormack, cousin, you're very welcome to Talking Sport with Stan. Great to have you, lad.
How are you, Stan? How's things? Thanks very much for having me.
Pleasure, man. Pleasure. We have lots to talk about now. I'm looking forward to it.
Lots to talk about, right?
You're keeping well.
Keeping very good, Sean. Yeah, can't complain now.
Good stuff. No doubt you're staying busy with the training.
Staying busy with the training, but sure, the weather makes it. You can go out there on a bike, or you can go for a run. You can do whatever you have to do. There's no problem.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't think it's the sun. I think hail, rain, or snow, you'd be out anyway.
I was kind of breaking you from an early age to have to be doing something. Can't be sitting idle, can you? What's that? An idle man will catch moss or something.
Don't have to worry about that.
Oh, stop.
Joe, I'm going to go straight into your achievements here. Your achievements as a player and manager, coach, which I suppose your managerial coaching role is your priority and main role nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah, it's taken over. It's taken over a little bit,
Yeah.
Our body isn't able to do. I will play anymore.
I don't play anymore.
No.
Oh, now you've been through the mill. We'll go through your achievements as a player. Leinster A College Senior Championship, under 17 interprovincial, 5-time Leader Cup champion, 3 league titles, 3 Longford Senior Championships, 1 Intermediate Championship. And as a manager, Senior Ladies League and Championship, Leinster Ladies Club Championship, Under 14 North Leinster School Championship, Leinster School C Senior Championship, Under 21 Club Championship, and 2 Leitrim Senior Championships with Autowillan, yes?
That's correct, yeah.
Very good. Will you just touch, Joe, on the Under 17 interprovincial experience? I suppose first of all, at that age, getting that call up, how did it feel? You must have felt very proud to be called up, and also your approach to that experience.
Yeah, I suppose, until I was listening to a couple of your podcasts, you don't actually think of a lot of this stuff, And when he made contact with me, I said, I better look up. But it's, looking back on it, it was a great achievement. There was 5 of us. There was 5 Longford lads sent for trials back. It was 2002, 2003. There was myself and Brian Kavanagh, Bernard McElvanny, Bull, and Liam Gill. Were the 5 lads that were sent for trials. I think we were all around 17 years of age on the county minor panel. It was you could send people for trials. You weren't invited to a trial,
Yeah.
So it was a great experience. Like there's some stories there we could tell too. There was 5 of us used to be sent in a taxi. It used to be Jimmy's taxi. Jimmy's taxi from Longford used to bring us up after school up to Ballymun, and we used to train in Ballymun, and we played challenge matches as part of the trials. We used to play fresher colleges teams.
Very good. That's some
experience. It was great. It was great. And then it all came to a culminating event there where it was an interprovincials title. We ended up playing. I think we ended up playing Munster and Connacht. Was the 2 teams that we ended up playing in it. But great experience. Great
exposure to that level as well.
Yeah, but it was at that age that you were 17. There wasn't too much pressure or stress on life, and it was a great time because we're after yourself. We're after being brought up onto a club senior panel, and we were on county minor teams, and we're after winning the Leinster medal came after that with Mells.
Yeah.
So it was a good year. It was a good time. It was just a good time in my life anyway. Around 2002, 2003 started.
It's a great memory to have, to get to that point, because not too many get a call up like that, or an opportunity like that.
No, that's true, but it was an enjoyable experience. Definitely something that
good to have the lads with you as well for a bit of crack as well, and
great crack, yeah, great crack, but they were good lads. Like the 5 that I mentioned were cracking lads,
Yeah.
We played nearly all the way up through, even as far as under 21. We all played. all
Yeah.
play together, you know.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. And we both shared a similar route when we were younger, coming up through the ranks. And I suppose I want you to tell them, you know, we go training together, go to school together, we come home on the bus together. And I suppose tell me a bit about Joe McCormack when he was at home on his own in relation to what was your thoughts on sport from a young age? Were you always mad into it?
Oh, Stanley, this could be too deep now for this podcast.
Go for it.
What was my thought? Look, I suppose as a young lad, rural Ireland, so football was everything, you know. You ate, drank, slept football. That's all you did. You woke up in the morning with a football. You went to bed at night with a football. School wasn't really important to me. You know, your schoolboy days. You were waiting for school to be over. Them days, the schoolboy games could be during school.
Yeah.
Well, you could be brought off to Melville there. Muller was talking about, you know, memories that he has getting ice creams from John Murphy on the way home. Like, yeah, we have them memories, you know.
Yeah.
After school, then you could have matches after school, and at that time there would have been early games because we were all 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years of age. So there were early games. You didn't have long to wait when you got home from school. You know, you get the boots ready and you're gone down to Clonee, or gone to Monaduff, or gone to Clongish, or gone somewhere to play underage games. I look at very fond memories of underage. It was so there were good times. Like I have to say that even looking at underage games now, it's very enjoyable to watch because young lads or girls, they don't have that pressure, that expectation on them. They're just playing football. They're playing sport, running around. You know, the foot passes are coming off. You know, the shot selection, if it's wrong, it's wrong. There's no pressure. You go out there and you play free-flowing, enjoyable football.
Yeah.
It's when you start going up through the years and you get to 16s and get to minors, then all of a sudden there's an expectation, there's pressure. Your game changes. So I remember reading a passage out of Mick Dwyer's book, and he talked about that he'd travelled the length and breadth of the country, and when he'd seen lights on in the park, he'd go, no matter what it was. And some of the most enjoyable games he watched was underage games because it was pure football.
Yeah, free flowing.
You know, there was young lads and girls out there, and it was pure football, and that's the way any young lad will play it. Like, we were no different.
Yeah.
We just out, get the boots on and play ball. If we didn't go over the bar, you could kick 10 balls at a goals, and if 6 of them went wide, you didn't think about the 6 of them.
No.
At all. If you did that today in a senior match, you probably wouldn't get the second wide. You'd be on the sideline.
True. Or there'll be a lad ringing, ringing you that evening to suggest maybe you should go down and practice.
Yeah, you go down and grab the balls there, Joe. You need to work on now shooting. You know, like, it was just football to me at that age was just very enjoyable. But then in our house at home, and you were in my house and I was in your house, and you know, your family was the fuel for the fire, like, you know.
Yeah.
You talked about it there with other lads on the podcast already about around the kitchen table, and that's where the football was discussed. Some days the conversations ended in your favour, some days they didn't.
Yeah.
You know, and we've
exactly.
alluded to you know, our fathers playing ball and the championships that they have, and you know, there's a lovely picture of me and you, actually. You have it, I think I gave it to you.
No, when we were young, yeah.
Yeah, do you know, and that was 7 or 8 years of age, and we were holding Sean Connolly at that stage. Do you know, like, you were looking at Killoe players, 93, 95, winning championships, coming down to the school. Even Molo mentioned it, you know. In the school, he remembers Sean Connolly coming in and, you know, saying to himself that he wanted to emulate that. And we had the same, you know, and we were lucky enough that when we were growing up, we got to see that. We got to see that in 93 and 95 when Killoe came into the school with the trophy.
Those memories never
Daddy being
leave.
over it, you know, was extra special too, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so we were so young that time too. But you kind of remember little flashes of those games, and I don't know what it is, but I remember certain parts of those championship finals back then. You know, certain instances could be Speedy kicking a free maybe at the end of the game. Certain key moments that kind of stick with you. You know, and so we were in the dressing room for a lot of that stuff as well. We would have seen a lot at that age.
Yes, Definitely. We'd have little snippets. I definitely have snippets of memories, but you're always a great man to talk to. Is your Uncle Jimmy.
Oh
Your
yeah,
Uncle Jimmy has a memory like no other. And
unbelievable.
both himself and even Daddy and Terry, they'd fill in the blanks over games.
Yeah,
Like
between the
I
three of
do.
them.
Yeah, I do remember games, not very vaguely, but they'd cemented in when they'd be talking to you about it, and then going
Yeah,
back to their own days and playing Cashel. I remember stories that we'd have. Definitely, Cashel crops up in my mind with tough battles that Clongish and Cashel would have had, because we were all playing with Clongish at the time.
yeah.
And you can remember, and you have memories of that, and you're trying to emulate it, I suppose, as a young lad. And
True.
they were just good times, definitely innocent good times.
Very distinct memories of being, like, I remember being in the dressing room, you'd just be obsessed with those 93, 90 kilo, 93, 95 teams. You'd be in the
Yeah.
dressing room, and the smell of deep heat.
Oh, wintergreen.
Oh, winter would absolutely lift you out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, burn the nostrils of you. Look at these lads; they look like models with the legs would be all rubbed. There'd be a shine on the legs
Yeah.
with the wintergreen rubbed in. But you even remember the warm ups. It's a different ball game, different game. Like I remember, would say in a dressing room, and you crammed into a corner where they couldn't get out on the pitch, so they were doing a warm up on the floor, and you could hear the cogs beating
Yeah.
off the concrete floor, and they counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah.
and they take a break on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the cogs beating off the floor.
Oh, that was unbelievable. That never left
And
me.
you hiding under a seat in case
Yeah.
a 14-stone man had walked on top of you and you only let him run. I didn't address him.
That's exactly what happened, yeah.
I definitely didn't want to be anywhere near the door when the boys were going out.
Oh, absolutely not. No, it never made sense to me why there was a door there, to be honest. Oh yeah, it was just it was fierce, wasn't it? Like, it was fierce at
Yeah,
that time
but then it's a different game.
that stuck. I say that stuck with us, like, then when we were as we grew up, then, because I suppose that was the
Just all
dream.
you knew.
Yeah, it was the dream. You
All
wanted.
you knew. Like you were
Yeah,
living. Like we were living through our father's memories as well. Like they were telling us about great games and balls that was caught in the middle of the field. You were talking about lads travelling up and down, and like our fathers played with great footballers. Like even Davy Barden alluded to it there with Clongish. Like Clongish had more Railway Cup players playing on a club team, and I remember stories with Clongish and Granard, and they talking like Clongish and Granard back in the 70s and 80s. They should have made up most of a county team.
yeah, yeah.
And these boys were meeting in county finals, and even if you look back in the history, like Granard have 2 championships, Clongish have 2 championships, Granard have one in the middle of it, Clongish have one. Like they fought tooth and nail for championships. I'd say they were cracking games.
Oh yeah.
Never be got on videos. But we lived that because the memories, the stories that were told, and and the crack, like even like just saw how different the game was when you about referees. I remember you telling that story, or that mightn't have been you, but like a referee coming up was it get up on the ground, you didn't get hit, Like nowadays was a lad rolling around on the ground and there would be an ambulance called,
Oh, true, yeah. Player protection, how are you? Yeah.
Oh, it's different times.
It was, yeah. They were great, like, they were great memories. And I have something I've alluded to in another chat was we weren't overly successful underage.
Yes.
We were very successful up to under 14, and we had the fail experience that year, which was very good.
Yes.
And then we struggled. We never won a championship then until 2012, which is very hard to believe.
Yeah. Look, football, I think that's sport, like.
Yeah.
Like even there's 12 teams in a championship, there's going to be 11 losers. But yeah, the under 14 team, that was back in 2000. We had a clean sweep. Won the Fela, we won the league and championship. 2 years later, I think we were lucky enough to get an under 16 league. We missed out on the championship. And 2 years later, in 2004, you would have won a minor league. I missed out on a minor league with an injury.
That's right.
But that was 2 leagues in 4 years. For that crop of players, we probably would have underachieved. Like there's memories. I remember Carrick Sarsfields. Carrick Sarsfields is the one that sticks out in my mind. They went and won that championship. Is that minor or 16?
Arda, wasn't it?
It was over in Arda, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they had great players, not taken away from them. They had great players, but I remember, you know, young lads, immature, no experience, going for goals. Do you remember it?
Oh, how would I forget it?
We went for goals with 15 minutes to go and only a few points in the game. Like we actually, you know, you kicked the game away. You know, like not knowing, like we didn't know what time it was. I remember, like it was kind of like it was just a bit of mayhem there above Renarda. And it's one game that stuck with me. And I think they finished it out, Carrick Sarsfields, didn't they?
They did, yeah. They did.
Yeah, that was actually a good game with them and Slashers. Slashers were 8 or 9 points up. It was Gale Force winning in Pierce Park, I remember it.
Yeah.
Carrick Sarsfields. They had a good team, though, in fairness to them. And a lot of them boys they would have graced county pitches after that with county jerseys and all that, Carrick Sarsfields.
Oh, big time, yeah. Big time. We were first forced into a situation, I suppose, we were trailing, and when you trail, you panic, and then when you panic, you feel like you've only a minute left, even though you could have 20 minutes, you know, and we hit everything. And I remember we were on holidays in Galway actually that time. We came back for that game, and they talk about being sore after defeat. I remember John Riley rubbed Rajax on my back at half time that game.
Rajax, that's the up for the Horn and Cattle, is it?
Oh, it must have been, because it wasn't supposed to be put on to me anyway, because it burnt me from half time till I fell asleep that night in Galway.
Oh, Lord bless us. You wouldn't be on holidays nowadays, hey, you wouldn't be playing.
To say that again, I don't well, didn't I, back then?
You imagine telling the senior manager I'm on holidays.
Me off living life in Galway. Yeah, I'll never forget that. But yeah, it was tough. And then we progressed on to minor then. And
how did the minor pan out?
Our minors, we got a league. Our minor, we were beaten by Slashers in Pierce Park. Talking to us about this, and another.
Yeah, but they were great games with Killoe and Slashers, and that's you know, it's actually gas 2-hour journey when you look at it from 2000 to 2020 now, like, and still, like you finished it there last year with 2019 again, Slashers again, you know, 19 years later, they're still lip and tuck, like, you know. I remember over in Bannalee under 14 playing Slashers. Oh, they had great players. Like when you think about Bach was playing with them.
He was,
at under 14. He came to us in later years, but himself and Mark Smith and Colin Smith, you know, they could kick points from absolutely anywhere at that underage team.
Yeah, at that age too, huge.
Yeah, like we had our own, yourself and Tomo. Tomo was playing with us at that stage.
That's right, yeah.
You know, before he got injured. And, you know, like we had, but it's the gas too when you look back in them teams, how many players we lost in the 4 years from 14 to minor, like, and even further afield. Like, I was just thinking of some of them, like, that was on that schoolboy team and on the 14 team was that, you know, didn't come any further.
Yeah, some I suppose it's a natural thing. Some lose interest to go other directions, and then, as you mentioned, Andrew Thompson there, like one of my lads and yourself, just the injuries, like, you know, certain lads just have very, very bad luck, and you know, it's unfortunate how careers can go for fellas, especially from a young age, you know. But
see, that's the downfall, I suppose, of amateur game.
Yeah,
so there's no support system after it, really, like, you know.
No, and whatever about now, it's probably improving now, but back then it was, you know, it was very much, you know, good luck to you. Hope you can look after yourself, okay.
Yeah, true.
So we kind of come on to I suppose, before we go into that, with Mel's, you were, when I think back now, in Mel's, you've always seemed to enjoy the hard slog and the hard work. And when you were in Mel's, you did reach another level. And me personally, I never enjoyed Mel's football. I never enjoyed it.
Who were you talking? You had a conversation with this. Was that Muller, was it?
Oh, I don't know. I can't recall, to be honest.
You were talking about the hard slog that, you know, Mel's. When you think of Mel's, you think, it's Stephen Lynch. When you think of Mel's, you think of laps.
That's right, laps. Yeah. Well, you seem to embrace the laps, whereas
I love the laps.
I was quite happy to have the cup of soup and the Billy ham sandwich in the hall.
Yeah. €2 for a cup of soup. Well, look, sure, I never hid behind. I knew myself. I wasn't talented. I wasn't a great footballer, but I knew that if work rate was one thing that I could always rely on, you know.
Yeah.
And if you could work hard enough and you could run more than somebody, like, you're going to get into positions. Do you know? Like, if you never stopped running for 60 minutes, you were going to end up with opportunities. You were going to end up maybe on the end of a ball. You might get a pint. You might get something. You might get a block in. You might get something. Like, I'd say when I was younger, and I said that was the biggest part of my game, was just work. You know, it wasn't kicking pints. It wasn't, unbelievable skill, because that was definitely a part of my game. My game was just run, tackle, work. As soon as you get the ball, give it to somebody that can do something with it. And until they lose it, then you're back running again. You know?
Yeah.
And I loved it. Like, it's just running. I lap today. If I could run laps today, I'd run laps today.
But you definitely had way more to your game than you're letting on. Like, you had, but I suppose you did. It was clear at that time, when I think back, that that was your mindset. That was your, you were going out to outrun whoever you were on or outwork whoever you were on. That was your mentality at that point.
Yeah, but like, as I said, Sean, it was just that was just the way my head worked, and it still works no different. You know, and even in my coaching game, like, not that I would be flogging players or that I'd be over, but like, the game has evolved so much that you can actually you can pin in a talented player with solid work rate.
Yeah.
So, like, you look at the way the game has evolved now. Like, when we're talking about our underage there in 2000, 2002, when you look at senior at that stage, or even before that in the 90s, and going back, like, it was a flat six up front and a flat six at the back and two midfielders, and you played your position.
Yeah.
You know, and if you have a good forward in there in that flat six and he just happens to be on a defender that's just not up to scratch, that forward is going to have a good day. So what they were going to do was probably move. Well, we'll swap corners, bring the other corner back over and get him on him and see what the crack is.
Yeah.
And after that, the manager ran out of tactics. Whereas now, your two wing forwards, your corner forwards, your midfielder, you're back defending as a unit. Like, the art of a tackle is nearly gone, because the game is gone that you're defending solely as a unit. Your goalkeeper, your six backs, your two midfielders, and maybe three forwards is back there as an 11, working in sync to stop anything. So your good forwards now have more bodies to run past or run through to get them scores. You know, like, it's the game as a spectacle is nearly. I nearly hate to say it, could be maybe a bit harsh, but as a spectacle, the game of Gaelic football isn't very appealing. You know?
No, and I suppose that's what we talked about earlier was, maybe a switching up of a format of some sort might reinvigorate things, spice up a bit. The championship in particular. We spoke about it before. Like, you'd love to see the knockout again.
Yeah, but even like, you even think about, like, you'd have played more football than me. But you look at the amount of managers that would have went through us, or we would have went through, or even the amount of teams you would have played with. Like, the game was called Gaelic football. And I'd say if you were looking at percentages of what training was done, you'd be over 60% to be running.
Oh yeah, sometimes you wouldn't see the ball.
Like, the skill, the whole skill aspect of the game is nearly neglected now. Like, like, I even find it, like, one thing that I'd always do, even down in Aughawillan, was we used to spend 20 minutes of every session just pinging balls. The first thing I asked Aughawillan to do, and in fairness to them they did, I said, I want 30 footballs. I want every man on this field to have a football. And we spent 20 minutes, left foot, right foot, just pinging balls, catching balls, pinging them, trying to work on skills. Like, you can run all day, but if you can't put the ball over the bar, or you can't put a man through with a pass,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what makes the difference. It's not key points in the game where it is that moment of magic. It's the skill that unlocks the defence.
Oh, the skill. But you know yourself, and most GAA people out there, like, they love watching, we'll say, Kerry playing football.
Yeah.
They have footballers, Kerry, Dublin. Mayo, Galway under Pádraig Joyce last
Yeah.
year. You know, like, that's football. It's kick passing, it's hand passing, it's off the shoulder running, it's support play. It's creative. No two moves are the same. Whereas I find with maybe weaker counties that mightn't have the skill level or the ability, that player, them skillful players, that you compensate with sheer work rate and tracking back and tackling and defensive play and, you know, short game. You know, and that's the way a lot of club games are gone now. Like, there's very few clubs, even in Longford there now, that wouldn't have a running game.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, and you see, you're playing. I was just thinking about it. You're actually playing percentages now. Like, you probably know more from county. Like, you'd hear the rumours from Dublin and stuff, like your percentages. You can't kick a ball in this area unless you're an 8 out of 10 man, or you know, for shot selection and stuff like that. And that
It's
kind
very
of
detailed. Yeah.
yeah, but it's gone. Like, players are nearly afraid to do something now in case they're going to be taken off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
stats are thrown in front of you as a club player now. I even remember in 2012 when we were there with Killoe. You still got stats. Like, I knew how many times I made a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, I knew how many times I kicked the ball away, and it was highlighted in front of 30 lads up on a screen. You, Joe, you had 15 possessions, and 4 of them went straight to opposition. You know,
Yeah.
like, fair enough, it does. Like, for the competitor that wants to improve, you know, that sort of information is great. But, you know, you're just wondering, where is it going to end? Like, we're just getting more and more professional in an amateur system, and your expectations of players are growing all the time. Like, it nearly looks to me something's going to give. So, like, you think of it, attendances are nearly down at games now. Like, they're not the same people going to games as they used to be. You know, like, even when I was in at the county final last year with Killoe and Slashers, and the crowds weren't there. So, like, there's a good crowd at the game, but it just, you know,
Nothing like before. Like,
no, nothing like before. But probably gone off track there on what we were talking about.
I
I tend
know.
to do that.
No, it's you kind of draw yourself back, you know. But it's no, I agree. Yeah, it's a lot of it's down to player trust as well, isn't it? Like, you know what you're saying, something simple there, like getting information back. Normally, I know there's two different players out there. There's a player who could give away 10 balls and it might never register with him.
Yeah.
And then there's another fella who'll give away three balls and he'll be dwelling on it and he'll realise that, right, I need to do better. You know, and that's, I suppose, where maybe the stats come in handy.
Well, look, the poor old devil that's losing 10 balls. He'll only get that information once. I'd say the second time he won't get the opportunity. He'll be on the intermediate team, or he'll be on the junior team, or he won't be playing football with the seniors, are you?
So true. Yeah,
you know.
So true. So, Joe, coming up, you know, we're all individuals, and at the end of the day, we all have our different motivations or different inspirations.
Yes.
What was inspiring you as a young player?
What was inspiring me?
Coming up onto the senior squad.
Look, I suppose I was blessed with the father, Tommy. When I was very young, I would have trained and watched some of the best footballers in this county and probably in Leitrim. Like, I remember David Baird was talking about his under-21 championship there in 2001, like, and Daddy was over that team. Like, he would have been involved. He would have been over Clongish back. I think it was 2000, 2001. But, like, you were watching and you were training alongside Paul Barden, David Barden, Enda Barden, you know, great players. You know, I went down to Mohill. I trained along with, you know, Michael McGuinness and Philly McGuinness, Lord of mercy on him. Fantastic footballer. Shane Cannon. Drum Riley, you would have had John McKeown, Leitrim footballer. Pat Donohoe, Leitrim footballer, nominated for an All-Star in '94. Training. You were training with such quality players. And when I mean training, like, I would have been a young lad probably in 2000. You'd be only around 14. And it wouldn't be training, but you'd be there watching training sessions, getting balls, talking to these lads, being in their company. Like, you know, they would have been players you would have looked up to.
Yeah.
You know, when you were that age.
And they train in that environment. Do you think that instilled the drive to train hard? You know, when you got into later on in medals, do you think that's where it stemmed from?
Definitely. You can remember me. I think I was about 12 years of age. I was a hard fat gossip, if you recall.
Well, I
You
wouldn't have
remember?
said that now, but
Well, I know it was. And I remember Tommy McCormack used to bring me for runs on a Sunday. I'd say if he'd done it now, he'd be in bother for child abuse.
she wasn't a witchy.
Yeah, you were on a couple of them now, but you weren't. I got fond of that sweet stuff back then when I was 12 and I put on a few pounds. But I remember himself. Yeah, there was time. Yourself, little Terry, Tommy, Jimmy, and Terry down, hand pass and 150-meter runs up and down the field.
Sunday mornings.
Yeah, Sunday
9
morning.
o'clock.
And that's when there was no training. That's when there was no collective training. There was no club training. We had nothing to do. But we were brought there. Our fathers instilled that into us from a very young age. Like I still see little Terry there. He's still training away. You see him running.
Yeah.
Running
We
the road.
were brought down and ran, which was very
Yeah.
unusual. Like, yeah.
And you'd have that work ethic, and Porrig has that work ethic, and that was passed on to us from the fathers, and so that's where I got my inspiration from.
Yeah.
Family. As I said there, like the stories that Terry had tell, and Terry used to tell great stories even about the rugby. And go into the rugby, and Brendan Smith and him were great friends and played rugby together, and then played against each other with Cashel and Clongation. You had cracking stories there that are lost, but they were all inspiring stories. When you hear about these boys lifting trophies and big hits in matches, and I don't know, it was just we were very lucky that we had
We're immersed in it, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you would you have changed that differently there? Like, would your attitude say, were you doing too much for your age? Do you think?
Yeah, you see, look, it's gas when you look back, and I only started to look at it there. Like I would have went through back at the time when I started with these injuries and the cruciates and all this crap going on. So it was dark enough days because, as we said, football was everything. We were living in a house, Sean, that and the football was so much, and it was so important to me. Like I wanted to play football. You down the road, the same age as me, and as you were talking about brothers being pitted together, we were pitted against each other.
Yeah.
Me and you were same age. There's a month between us. There was competition between the two of us, and maybe we didn't know it, but like it was always there. Like you'd score 2 or 3 points, 4 points, and what was I scoring, and what was I doing? But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that competitive edge.
Yeah.
But was I doing too much? I don't know. Like young lads today now, I don't know. Like I'm sure there'd be lots of lads who would have done an awful lot of training. It's just unlucky. Like I still remember the first cruciate. The first cruciate was 2004.
For Ballymahan.
2004, Ballymahan, Cloney, 60 metres out from goals on the sideline, right on the sideline.
I'll never forget it. I was moving out from the full forward line you were coming up the sideline on the ball, and I was coming out to meet you.
Yeah. You should have got the ball probably 3 seconds sooner, I'd say, and that could have prevented an awful lot.
Not going to say that, but look, I was giving you the option.
Yeah, but you see, that's the beautiful thing of the game. If I'd have given you the ball 3 seconds earlier, I mightn't have got a hit.
Yeah.
And then things could have been different. But it's gas. Like as I said to you, I was on the cusp of a wave there in 2002, 2003. You're after getting nominated or getting playing with a Leinster Provincials under-17 squad. You're after winning a Leinster title with Mel's. Everything was looking good. You were in with the county.
You were at the top of your game.
Yeah, you were after being called. You were in with county minors. Jimmy Gackman brought me into the county minors, and everything was looking great. And then just blew up. The whole 2005 season, you won a Leader Cup in the league with Jimmy Gackman. I missed out on that with that injury. You come back then in 2006. I remember I got an awful lot of abuse in Killoe. I was called into the county under 21s in 2006 and never played in 2005. And then I tore the second cruciate, and I was on the verge. I remember
that was first league back. It was in the first league game against Dramart.
Yeah, and I remember.
And you were flying.
Luke Dempsey and Declan Rowley were over us at that stage in the county on the 20s, on the 21s, and I was getting. I remember long before we were playing London in the seniors. I was supposed to get the call up for the senior squad for the London game. They were playing London in Pearse Park, and from one thing and another, I knew I didn't get didn't get the call up for that game. So we're still training with under 21s. But when you were training with under 21s, you still had to play with your club.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was that following week that we played Dramard. And that's when I tore my cruciate. Toward the second cruciate, and that put a stop to it. That finished that season.
That was very rough. I remember you because you were absolutely flying in that game as well. And yeah, what does that do to you? Like,
look, it's hard.
When the first one happened, like when you think back at that age, like, you know, you're after doing your cruciate, and I remember like we call up to the house to see you. You know, we call up to see you and we say, "Oh, how are you getting on?" And you're sitting there and you have the ice pack on it, and that's it. And people call and they'll check in, and then people go and they move on, and then you're left with this.
Yeah.
And you were at the pinnacle, like, you know, you were flying. You were training at a very, very high level. You were probably training excessively, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
But you were training very high level. You were very strong. That's one thing I always remember at that age too, because I was always envious of that. Of you was your self-confidence. Well, you were very self-confident, weren't you, at playing at that level?
That came on the back. That came on the back of the Mells and Leinster. That came on the back. Solely came on the back of that, Sean.
Yeah.
Like if you look at me before that, I wouldn't have been overly confident. Never was. But I brought that confidence with me from those two experiences.
Yeah.
And it gave me them two opportunities gave me that extra confidence to back yourself. And that's my mentality then going into a game.
Yeah.
And then I had the training in the legs. So in my head it was like, doesn't matter who you're marking today.
Yeah.
You know, you've your Leinster title medal. You've a Leinster title medal in your back pocket here. Like you're good enough. And you have the fitness level to back it up. So no matter what was going on in the game, or no matter what fitness level came up against you, you were always confident that you were going to be fitter. Do you know?
Yeah, because there's one thing I always remember you saying, but I think back was, you know,
This could be good now.
No, we'd be coming up against someone and you go, yeah, he won't live with me.
That was, you're hanging me out, hey?
Huh?
You're hanging me out.
No, but I mean, like, you know, that was that was great belief to have, though. Like, you know what that is. Like with Bush, like, what was the point in going out thinking, oh God, I'm going to be swallowed? But like, it was a very real determined mindset, you know.
Yeah, but isn't that's nearly, I remember over the years, that was your pre-season. Your pre-season was nearly for no other reason than to give a lad confidence that he had the running in the legs. He had it in the tank.
Yeah.
And like you remember with Jimmy Gaquin, like our trends, you talk about football and skills. Like I remember we went out and we lapped the field. We used to try and get 15 laps in our half an hour break, and we could. Myself and Cathal Quinn, Gartletcher, man, you know him.
Yeah.
We ran around that field every day at lunchtime. You got out, you know, you were kind of lucky to get out, get the boots on, straight out onto the field, and everybody in, and we would run around that field. And you know, at that time of the year, you know, the college time of the year, it was soft conditions. It could have been rain, and the pitch would be muck and just a pure mess. But we had a great team in Mells. You know, like Joe O'Brien. I still remember Joe O'Brien. We have another funny story, myself and Joe. But Joe O'Brien and Adrian Murphy and lots of great footballers. Andy Gallagher.
Yeah, and Williams.
Andy Gallagher, you know.
Yeah.
Like that man was lost. He was gifted forward.
Yeah.
You know, like just a great team. And we had it all in the legs. And that was, like, I remember when we went in, and that was one thing that Jimmy Gaffin could say to us is, like, whatever's thrown at you here, lads, you have it in the tank.
Yeah.
You know, because we knew we had the laps done. We had the running done. Like, we could run solid for an hour. Now all we had to do was bring the football with us. Do you know?
Yeah.
And
that's like when what I'm saying was, you were saying I was hanging you out. I wasn't saying doing that at all. What I meant was, like, what it had instilled in you. Like, you were playing with that genuine mentality. Like, you know, so I suppose at that age I was always wondering, God, what would it be like to play like that? You know, because I suppose I would have been the opposite for a long time, but that was because everyone's different again, you know. But it's you know, and then to experience the first cruciate, like, it's such a blow, because, as I said, we call and move on. Next thing you know, you're missing out on a year there where, as you said, we've moved on and we've won a league and Leader Cup, experience.
that was a tough blow because we had not achieved it. I had not achieved at that level with senior with your club. Like it was fantastic to watch you. You had a class game that day. That was against Ballymahan, wasn't it?
2005. Went extra time. Yeah.
Went extra time, but you scored 11 points. To watch that from the park was bittersweet. You're watching. Great to see Killoe coming out with a Leader Cup in the league, and players. There was lots of players that deserved that had done a long journey.
Yeah.
And to get a Leader Cup in the league out was fantastic. But to look at from the sideline, then you're kind of like, just what? Like I've done everything right now. I trained hard. I looked after myself. And then you're just hit with that sucker punch. But I was no different than anybody else, Sean. Like anyone that would have picked up serious injuries in other clubs. I don't want to be speaking for other clubs, but like I can only imagine that. I know my journey was I was carried off the field. I wouldn't go on a stretcher anyway. I said no, I'm not getting on a stretcher. I fear that. So I know that I was kind of linked with two people off, and I was sat in a dressing room for a good half an hour, 40 minutes on the siding. They wanted to ring an ambulance. And I said, there's no way you people ringing an ambulance. We're not getting an ambulance. And we sat in the dressing room talking about what we could do. And I was brought to Mullingar Hospital. And I sat in Mullingar for 4.5 hours waiting for an x-ray. I got the x-ray. The nurse came out and said, there's nothing broke. I said, well, that's good. I said, you can go home. And I went home, and that's the exact same treatment I got for the next cruciate. Like it's gas. Like, and you're above in Mullingar, and most other people are in bed after the match. Stunned, and you're sitting there. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Terry brought me to the Mullingar. Terry brought me to Mullingar, I think.
Probably did, yeah.
And
he would have standing beside when that happened.
Oh yeah, and you're just, but like several young lads have been in that predicament.
Yeah.
Took a serious injury. Like I've often heard it down over the years. When you're useful, you're wanted, and when you're not, you just like time. The game goes by, time goes on. Like the championships are still going to tick in every year. If you're there, you're there. If you're not, you're not. Things have to move on. But it's a tough pill to swallow, all right, yeah.
Yeah, changes everything.
When you look at the second one then in 2006, that's when I said to you, we're in with under 21s. I had a great year. I actually had a great year after coming back from that cruciate. And I remember Cathal Conifrey was he wasn't long after doing a cruciate, and he had come back in record time or very good time, which he was a machine, that man.
Yeah.
And I remember being in there with under 21s, having a great year, and then second cruciate, that was nearly worse. That was nearly worse than the first one, because you were left to your own devices. One thing that I was left to my own devices is in the sense that there was not that there was no support network, but there was no one really back in 2004. There wasn't a whole lot of information about how to rehab a cruciate. What was the best thing to do, or what was your recovery and what you should be doing. And I was doing probably more damage than good, lifting weights maybe 5-6 days a week, leg extension, leg press, squats, lunges, thinking that you were building this muscle when you were probably fatiguing the muscle no end and then not recovering properly.
Put more stress on it.
And eventually that's what probably caused the second one. Like when you look at, in that window of time from 2004 to 2009, I had 7 operations on both knees.
Between 2004 and 2009.
7 operations, 3 serious and 4 clean-outs. And that was it. The last I got, no more than, I remember Mullo saying that he was told, it's time to pull plug. I remember going up to Raymore in 2010. I was actually in with the county at that stage as well. You came in 11, didn't you?
I came in 10, I think. Or the tail end of 9 or 10, yeah.
Well, when did the boys go to France? They went to France on a training camp.
Oh, it was before that. That was 8 or 9, I think.
It must have been 9. So, because I remember I pulled off the panel in 9 then, because I was about 2 weeks out from going to France. I was after hurting my knee. Myself and Danny Keenan from Ard, I think, collided in a tackle square. Another hardy boy too. And we just collided in a tackle square. I think I broke his thumb with a knee brace. Poor old Danny, his thumb got caught in my knee brace and he broke his thumb. And I ended up hurting my knee and going for another scan. Ended up down in Limerick. But I went up to Ray Moore and he told me, he said, "Look, it's time to pull the plug."
Yeah.
So that was the county career over before it ever started. I think I played as far as under 21. Never donned a senior county jersey. I played under 21 with Luke Dempsey and Declan Rowley. I went in with Glenn Ryan in 2009 and 2010, and then I retired in my own head. I just sat down one day and said, there's no point. If I want to try and play club football, there's no point in trying to make this county thing work. So we just didn't bother going back in after that. And that was county done.
That must have been a very hard decision to make, though, or to accept it. You know?
Look, to be honest, I've come to terms with it now. Definitely come to terms with it now. But at the time, no. So you were flying at that stage too, and you were only getting better. Like you won a Division 4 in 11 and a Division 3 in 12, was it?
Yeah.
Do you know, like I remember watching the first one. I went to the first one because it was just I had dropped off in 10, so a lot of them boys would have been still all playing in 11. I remember watching that game. That was, look, again, delighted, absolutely delighted that the boys had won, because we're just talking about this, you know, that silverware doesn't come around very often, and for a Longford man to have 2 National League titles in his back pocket is some achievement, like.
Yeah, you're grateful for it. It's funny when you're saying you're going on days like that. There's those of us who were fortunate to be out there playing, and then there's the other side of it where you have lads looking on.
It's harder to be out there playing than it is to be watching it. So I was happy enough watching it.
Yeah. Well, everything has its, you know, there's different perspectives, but it's the other reality of sport, unfortunately, and it's one you have endured, and it's been very difficult. And like I suppose we from when that happened, that's where we kind of went our separate ways in a way, you know, football wise. You know, for all the years we've been
together,
with Killoe, your Killoe career has been very kind of stop start up until 2012.
Yeah,
really, wasn't it? And then you got another run for a couple of years, and like when you look at that period there and 7 operations, you know, to come back and captain us then to win a championship must be it must give some sort of what would you say, some sort of comfort in a way, or just a real sense like that. It's a serious sense of achievement you should get from all that.
Oh, there is. Don't get me wrong. Like there's 2012 was sweet, but I knew, like as I said to you, I knew in 2010 there was no point in trying to train. Like you were talking about county players training all year round, and that's what I was doing. That's why it wasn't making sense. It wasn't. You know, you had to. There was no point in you trying to go into a pre-season and train, and all the body was doing was breaking down. You were getting a couple of weeks breaking down, getting a couple of weeks breaking down. It was pointless. So we had to make that call, and still, even in 2010, and that's why I go back to that Leader Cup. That Leader Cup against Slashers was the one thing that reignited in me that, do you know what, there's definitely a great chance here. And there was always that in the back of my head. I knew that the young lads were coming.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You were hanging. I was hanging in there by a thread. If we didn't win in 2010, I probably would have pulled pin altogether.
Yeah.
Do you know, like I knew when we won that, it gave me great confidence again. It gave a lot of the lads around us confidence.
Yeah.
Like because Slashers were a formidable team. And I remember saying it to them in 2012 in my speech that they were the best team in Longford. In 2012, they were the best team. In 2011, they were the best team. In 2010, like, so that's why it makes that victory so sweet that we came up as a group of young lads and bet the best team in Longford.
Yeah.
But like even that Leader Cup, it instilled in me like, right, hold on, hang in there. I knew that group of players was coming. Porrig and Dara Bennett and Ronan Keogh and Paddy Thompson and Mark Hughes. Them five lads that won a county in 2010. They won the Leinster minor, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I knew they were coming. Like 18 years of age, give them another 2 years, they're going to be there. They're going to be there or thereabouts. They'll be 20 years of age. They'll be 20 years of age. You know, there could be just enough. And they were. And like when you think about David Barden talked about timing. Mullo talked about timing. Bull talked about timing. That was timing for us too.
Yeah.
Them boys came at the right time. You had the Shane Dowd, you had the Eugene Clarks, you had myself, yourself. I'm probably going to leave out names and I'll get bothered for it. But there was that older generation of us, like Mickey Quinn. And even Mickey wouldn't be an hour vintage, he'd be younger than me. But it was just a mix. Like I remember when we played Slashers in 12, like the average age of our team was 21. Like me and you were the oldest, 26.
Yeah.
But we needed them five lads.
Big time, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Balance.
I'm actually really enjoying your podcast because we're just even listening to the boys and how we're all linking in with one another. Like, I remember even David. Like David's first championship was in 03, was it?
02.
02.
Yeah, to be. Was it 02? Yeah, it was.
And but he was waiting for the Joe O'Briens and the Paddy Dowds and then the Williams and the John O'Briens and the Tic Tacs. He was waiting for that group to come.
Yeah.
And they came, and then timing perfect.
Yeah.
And they all came together. And
yeah, you need that mix of.
Mix of experience.
Yeah, that's why you feel sorry for for certain teams out there who have an influx of young lads and they don't have, say, a few elder heads around just to kind of.
Yeah, but that's it. Like people say to me, "Oh, about the championships you've won and championships you've won." And I was like, it's all down to luck and timing.
Yeah.
Luck and timing. Like if them players weren't coming until 2014, would we have lasted another 4 years on a drought? We would have been heading for 30 years of age and no sign of any silverware,
True. And I suppose what made it extra special for us, was Tommy taking the reins again.
Tommy taking the reins is right.
Yeah, 2012, and the last time was 95. Was the last time he was involved. Well, probably he was in 96 as well, wasn't he? But the last time, last time we had won the championship was 95, and he managed then. Yeah, it was some journey there now for those couple of years. Lots of emotions, lots of ups and downs.
Think about, look at all the lads that missed out on championships. You were talking, I know you've been talking to, and it's in every club and it's in every team that lads retire too early or they miss out on something. Or so, like the amount of Killoe boys that would have missed out, great Killoe players.
And just by a year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
was just, because there was a few, it's very tough because I suppose it's a very selfless decision to make as well. Like you can hang on to, and you can kind of say, well, look, it's time to let the young lads come. You have to let young lads through as well.
But then there's other factors in play. Like you look at some of them lads maybe with families and young families or something, and it's maybe not
harder.
Yeah. Unfair, that they're given time to football. Like I see it now with Paddy. Where God bless his time should be all me time. I can see how a lad with 2 or 3 children. I know you'd like to get out of the house.
So why do you think most fathers are in coaching now?
Yeah, in coaching is right. Get out of the house.
It's a great excuse to get out of the house is right. Yeah. Look, we were very fortunate. It's very special. And we had a very special squad. It was, there were some years now. We were just fortunate to get the right mix and.
But it's exactly it. The right mix at the right time. Like when we came on in 2002, our year in 2002, 2003, you had myself, yourself, Eugene Clark, Killian Burns, Shane Dowd. You had a good group. Was there anyone else I'm missing there? A good group there that just came. And we thought it would have been enough. You see, this is why I'm enjoying the podcast, is because I remember Davey was saying that Ballymahan beat him in a county final. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Ballymahan bet them and Frankie Dolan, had joined Ballymahan. But Ballymahan bet us in the semi-final that year by a point.
By a point, yeah.
By a point. And that point was kicked by Frankie Dolan in injury time.
Yep.
So in my head, I'm saying to myself, we missed out on a championship. Do you know? Like we could have got that championship when me and you came on first. Probably wouldn't have done us any good. We'd have probably lost the run of ourselves. 16, 17-year-old glasses with a championship, sure, we could have went very different.
Guaranteed we would have.
Yeah. That's why people say, would you change that? No, because if you change something, it'll have a knock-on effect. Life is like
everything has its time. I think that experience for us was so important, and for our age group, because it just stood to us. It just kept that. It kept that. Was that fire burning for when the time came that we were really, really hungry for it, you know. And
Yeah, you see, even as that 2005 was enough to keep you ticking over again. 2010 was enough to keep you ticking over, and then eventually you reap the rewards in 12,
yeah,
14, and 15, and then the young lads and yourself last year. Another great championship, you know.
yeah. So look at it's an amazing. It just goes to show, Joe. Like your story is very inspiring that way. Like, you know, considering what you had gone through from a young age, injury wise, to, you know, and you know, you still never give up. Like, and the amount of times I'm sure you were told, look at time to pack it in. And you're like, let's see, hang in there. You get a little spark of inspiration again, and then
Yeah, Spark is right, yeah. But I
it's
was told,
it's all well and good saying you're, oh yeah, I'll come back and give it a go, but like it's not that straightforward for you because you, at
no.
the end of the day, you still have two very bad knees, and you're trying to mind them the best you can and perform at a high
And then
level.
as I said to you before, my game was work.
Yeah,
So now you were trying to get work done in a game when your body wasn't allowing you to. Like when Ray Moore told me in 2010, that's it, finished, pull plug. He said that looks like a Moto GT injury that you have there, and he said, "Yeah, can't. You're not. It's not possible to keep going on
yeah,
it." That was a tough blow, you know. And then to come back after that information and win the Leader Cup was a massive boost. Like, but you were getting through games, Sean, with diaphene and Solpadeine and, you know, like stuff that I would never encourage a player to take now. Like a player, I know over the years, players have asked me, you know, going to a doctor here, I'm thinking of getting an injection or a cortisone or something. Like, no, don't.
yeah,
Let
crazy.
it sit. Let it sit and rest. Rest is the best. Like, you know, lads trying to, and that's the one thing that I don't like about the GAA is that, like, lads feel like good players feel like under pressure to get back, and they're trying different things, and they're willing to, they're taking risks with their bodies, you know.
Yeah,
You know, and you just don't want to see, like, you look ahead over the years too in our dressing rooms there with you know,
100%.
with injuries and stuff, and you'd have seen it with county, like the lads just, they're mad to get back, and they want to get back in the quickest time possible, and, you know, they're just putting themselves under.
Yeah, and they suffer down the line because, you know, you do an
Ah,
injury like that, it's a glorified painkiller you're putting into your body, and then it's not. If anything, just making the injury
making it
worse.
worse.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you see when you see it now, I see it now. Like when I get out of bed in the morning, Sean, God bless us.
crippled.
Crippled to the hips and knees. Like I'm doing a bit of running and a bit of cycling, and Mickey Quinn is keeping me occupied now at the minute with these county training sessions. He's been here killed
God
800s,
love you.
400s, 600s. And, you know, I'm sure he's a machine too, flying, just flying. And,
Yeah,
you know,
unreal.
he'd annoy you when he runs by you. You know, he's running effortlessly up a pitch, and you're just standing looking at him. You're running as hard as you can. You're going nowhere. It's like you're stuck in second gear. But you know, you're still trying to run and trying to do a bit of cycling and a bit of stretching. But you're hoping that in a few years, when Paddy wants to go out for a kick around, I'll be able to go out with him.
Well, you want to be able to do things like that. That's, you know,
Yeah.
they'll be so important. Yeah, yeah. Some journey, Joe, and like, you know, I suppose you're going into coaching now from a very young age as well, and you have a lot of experience already at the age
Yes.
you're at. And one thing I was curious about was when you got involved with Aha Willem with Tommy, and you were going in. Like, was it a very strange thing to be kind of managing fellas older and around the same age as you? Was that a hard thing to get used to, or did that ever
Um,
play in your mind, or was it a challenge? Or
no, I don't think it ever did play on my mind. Like, oh, Willen are a very successful club. Down through the years, like they've contested Connacht club championships, and they've a great history, and they're actually a brilliant club. They're a fantastic club. Oh, and that's not just because I was involved with them, but they made us feel very welcome from as soon as we walked through the doors. And they were, all, in fairness to them, they were all willing to listen and willing to take whatever was on board. But Tommy, I was kind of lucky that my how would you say, apprenticeship was under Tommy. Like he's a different thinker of the game. He's different philosophies. Like he's very good player manager and very good at minding players and allowing players freedom. Like, you know, Mullo was talking about, you know, players young lads and they in college and maybe missing training sessions. And so like one of our big things, I remember saying it to the lads the very first day, is that football is important. We're in this together and that's a team game. But I said, before football, your family comes first. Your job and your education comes second and third, and then football. And that's it. Like, football is an amateur game. These boys have to get up on a Monday morning. Like, fair enough, I know that the beauty of a team is that you have some lads that are so committed and miss no training. And then you have another lad then that's 90% committed, and then you have another lad that's 40% committed and loves to hit pints. And you have to try and bring every one of them with you because you need them.
Yeah.
In club football today, you need them. Especially when you look at a club like Willen, who's a small club, you need everybody. And you're trying to bring all of them boys with you. You're trying to get on with them, but still have a line that, there's respect there and there's a job to be done. But no, definitely when I walked into the dressing room first, we actually went in and had a team meeting with them. Boys were all sitting down there. Look, it's the more than starting this interview with you or this podcast, I was kind of a bit butterfly-y,
Yeah.
And once you start talking, then I love the sound of my own voice. Anyway, I'll keep on, But you crack a few jokes, you loosen up the atmosphere in the room, and the boys know my attitude. Like, I think I get on with every one of them lads. It's a guarantee, and I don't think there'll be a bad word said about me or Tommy.
Yeah, and isn't that's a lovely thing to be able to say at the end of it all, isn't it?
But still come out with 2 senior championships, which is extra special. And still, I would believe that we underachieved down there. For a small club. We underachieved.
They're hard done. It's just hard done. Back-to-backs are hard done.
They are.
Yeah,
definitely.
But no, like, they were great memories, especially for you and Tommy to share. Like, to win championships as father as a manager and you to be as a player, and then for the two of you to be on the coaching team together, then is another very unique. And that's something. It's another unique achievement, and it can never be taken away from me. And that's it's the beauty of it. And then I'm looking on the other.
He would have been happy to have me with as we said already, like the way the game has evolved.
Yeah.
And like, even as I'm looking at the 2 pictures here, looking at the young lads and looking at the seniors, like the younger generation, they're a different generation. You know yourself, like they have more draws in life, in the sense that they're going off to college. Most young lads now in leaving cert to have all cars, or like, they can get into a car and they can go to Galway, they can get into a car and go to Dublin. They have friends all over the place. They're playing maybe college football now, or they have so many more opportunities that football is taking a back seat compared to years ago. Like, we've talked before over the years about missing out on opportunities. We never went to America. Yeah. We stayed here and fought for Killoe for years, and we missed out on that. Like, football will give you so much, and it'll take so much as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether football in 2020 means as much to people in 2020 as it did to 20 years ago. Like, young lads 20 years ago playing the game, and young lads now playing the game.
Yeah. It's a world difference, I think. Yeah,
well, I was blessed with that team. You were talking to Oren Kenny in the podcast, and I was just blessed. No more than anything that them list of achievements that you put up at the very start of this, I was just blessed that I fell in with groups, like going back to 12, that group that came together, going back to this Mercy Ballymahan group. They were just an exceptional group of lads. Like Oren said, and he's not lying, they were training 7:30 on a Friday morning, and there was 20, 22, 24 lads. And we did strength and conditioning in there. Now, it was all body weight. But we did sessions where the gym floor there'd be puddles of sweat on the gym floor. And I couldn't train these boys hard enough.
It's incredible to hear that.
But these boys, like Oren was Jim. I knew when I seen him in under 14 that he was going to be, if he stayed injury free, he was going to be some boy.
And he's a great attitude as well. Actually,
he's a great attitude.
His the way he's thinking, even at this age.
But you see, they're and Shane and himself alluded to it in their little podcast that they're looking at senior championships in a couple of years, and they're not going to be far away.
No,
I can see them coming. Like, even on that team that I have there's 5 or 6 lads. Like, So you're looking at Floods, Cronin Flood and Killian Flood. You're looking at young Kevin Tansey. You're looking at Oren Kenny himself, Richard Pryor. Like, there's a lot of lads out there, Keane Gilmore.
Yeah.
Like, there's 5 lads that have a Leinster Championship medal under their belt. 6 lads. You know, Keane playing with under 20s, Oren playing with seniors. Javier O'Sullivan, who's had a great debut season with Longford.
Yeah, with Longford as well, yeah.
Great young lad. You know, his brother's coming as well. Like, you know, them boys stay together and they don't pick up any injuries, you know, they're going to be. But there's great work done out there with Shane and Ryan. And they were even talking about Sean Kenny, like, they're great lads. And there's more, I'm sure, out there that's flying.
Yeah, the key is just keeping them boys together and making sure there's a crew ahead of them that leads the way as well.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But I can see them boys. Them boys will make inroads into senior championships in the next few years, definitely.
And Joe, just when you were talking there, like, it's an intensive schedule there for a secondary school team, isn't it? Nowadays, it's almost like a senior setup.
That's like, as we've said, you can curb talented players with a work ethic.
Yeah.
You know, like, so if you have lads that'll work extremely hard for 60 minutes, they're going to be hard bet. Now, if you have talented lads that'll work equally as hard, they're never going to be bet. And I just had that talented group of players that would work extremely hard. Yeah. You know, now it is definitely, but they wanted it, Sean. Like, in fairness to the boys, they came to me and said, we train in the morning. We gave them a breakfast in the morning, 7:30 after training. They got before school started at 9 o'clock. In fairness, Mr. Donoghue and Mr. Kenny and Michal Walsh would have been involved with that team and myself there from under 14 up to under 16. But, like, you know Gary, you do?
Yeah,
Gary Kenny.
Of course, yeah.
Like, Gary is a big GAA head, like, and he's a big driver behind football in the school, and very passionate about Gaelic football. And in fairness to him, if we went there and we said, look, Gary, the boys are willing to train, and, you know, anything we want, he tries his very best to get to help us out. So, you know, like, just no more than the club scene. You need your executive, you need your players, you need your management, you need your supporters all on the one page. And in the school, we had it. We had the management of school, the principal and vice principal were 100%. The boys were eager and willing, training their parents. And you mentioned to me about parents before, but they're great parents.
Yeah.
Parents bring them here, there, and everywhere. If I had training, like, imagine parents dropping them in at 7:10 in the morning.
It's something different, yeah.
Do you know, like, and that's phenomenal. And that's why you're so delighted that they got their championship. They got their Leinster championship. Now, we were beaten by a Cork team, a Cork colleges team, which I never understood how they were in the competition.
How's that going?
Colleges team. They won the County Cork Colleges Championship. So, like, they had, I think it was 2 years later, they had two or three. One of the best players on the Cork minor, when the Cork minors won the All-Ireland the year after, or last year, he was the best player. You know, like, but they were men. They were big, strong, physical men that were coming up against. And our boys fought tooth and nail and just unfortunately came out the wrong side of the result. But I couldn't fault them now. It was just an honour.
Yeah, lots of things worked against you just with time and you know.
Yeah.
You're under pressure.
You were playing 3 matches in a week trying to get fixtures played because of a fixture from Louth that wasn't played, you know.
Yeah. And do you think it's important, would their schedule have been as intense from when they come into first year? Or, like, I see, even just from being in primary schools myself, even primary schools football has gone very, very intense. Do you see that as possibly having a negative effect on players, say, when they get to 5th year in their secondary schools? Like,
well, you know yourself, if you're a good player, if you're an athlete or a good young lad or a young girl, everybody's pulling out of you, in the sense that you're probably playing a grade above yourself or 2 grades above yourself. You could be playing different codes in sport. Like, we'd have some of them lads that would have played basketball for the school and won All-Ireland titles with basketball that would be playing soccer team with the school as well. So they had 2 other teams to contend with besides mine, and that was just in school. Now, in fairness, like, if they were training with the basketballers, I'd pull training. If they were training, like, we try and organise it, because at the end of the day, it's player welfare. Like,
yeah, well, that's very good.
I could never understand why club managers or county managers wouldn't sit down and have a discussion over players. That, county manager, especially underage. Like why a county manager wants a county player, I want him training with me, and then the club manager wants him training with them. Like,
Yeah.
no,
It was
he's flying fit. Like, he doesn't need to do the running he doesn't need to do every training session. It's just
that's why
it's
it's a numbers game for them. It's results based.
Well, that's the other side. If
Yeah.
the pressure is on, then if a manager isn't getting the results, he doesn't have a job next year.
Yeah.
Like, and that's going back to, we'll say, even for me personally, your competitive edge. Like, I don't want to go to a club and not succeed. Like, you want to go, you want to give it your all, and you want to come out on top, both for your players and for yourself. I know. Like, it's a professional sport played by amateurs. It's cruel at times now.
Yeah, it was extra special for you too to have that team from 14 and see them grow, see them develop, and look at, as you said there. Yes, they were. You said yes, they were a quality group, but they needed your guidance. They needed your methods, your modern methods, and then, as you said, behind you, you needed the backing. And it just goes to show you, everything is such a knock-on effect. You could have the best squad in the world, you could have the best intentions, but if you don't have other people, rowing with you, the whole thing can implode, and that can cause the greatest regret down the line, can't it?
We could blow this podcast out of the water now, and we could contradict Michael Jordan. You're watching Netflix?
Yeah, great documentary. Yeah.
Do you remember? It's class. But do you remember he said that franchises don't win championships; players do.
Yeah, I didn't actually agree with that, to be honest. But
no, to a certain extent, I do agree that the players are on the field.
Yeah.
They're actually physically winning the games. But I have to say, like, I know definitely 2012 with us, we had great chairman in Frank Kiernan, great executive.
Yeah.
We had everything we wanted.
Everything was goodwill, like.
Management team that we had in place, was spot on. The players came at the right time. Like, everything, the supporters, everything bought in. It was 4 or 5 groups, as in executive was one group, players was another group, management was a group, supporters, all kind of just came together and pushed in the same direction, and we got across the line. Like, if we had, I know there's great teams out there that maybe mightn't have had a good manager, and if, for one reason or another, it might be the manager's fault, but they would say, I don't rate this manager, so I'm not going to play, or I'm not going to perform, or like, club can be very political at times too. The different clubs, and your window for being successful is very short. Like, you were coming to the end. Are you retired?
We'll keep the light on you here now.
All right. But, like, your windows. Like, if we look at my career, 2002 in club football until 2015 in club football is roughly 13 years.
Yeah.
Like, that probably could be a long window. I don't know, but it doesn't belong. That when you're a young lad and you're out for the first time, you think, we're going to be here forever.
Yeah.
It's a blink of an eye and it's gone.
Yeah, you realise that.
Even Mullo said it there. Like, when he went onto the team first, it wasn't too long until they were into a county final. Was it 2006?
Yeah, 2006. Yeah.
Like, he thought he was going to be there forever, and still he's only 3 championships. Like, they're probably saying maybe this is a Slashers team that underachieved. I'm sure Dramard, when they got their championships back in 05 and 06, or wasn't 05, and like, they're probably underachieved. Like, I remember having a conversation with Martin Milady. I think it was in Tom McGrath, and we're just talking about the 4 championships he has: 96, 7, 8, and 2001. And that's no more than anybody else who's saying we could have more, but we're lucky to have the 4.
Yeah.
Like, and we could, as I said to you at the start of this, we're lucky to have the 3, but we could have 5. All right, well, you have 4, but like in the 12, I'd say maybe 13 was definitely a year, you'd love to get another crack at. And you could have 12, 13, 14, and 15. You could have 4 in a row.
Could have, yeah.
But then you could argue then that the whistle was blown 10 seconds too early in 2012.
Very true.
So you could be lucky to have the championships you have. So we take what we get, and we're happy, we smile.
Exactly, and be grateful for it.
Yeah, be grateful, right.
I suppose, like, when you're managing, Joe, and coaching so much now, you're looking at different players, you're watching games, you're probably seeing yourself in a lot of lads too. Does it make you reflect back on yourself, your younger self, and do you ever wonder like what might have been, say, as regards county football and stuff if Joe McCormack never got injured?
You know, you're just laughing there. It's something that cropped into my head. I don't want to come across now as that arrogant, but do you
No,
remember?
come on with it.
Running up? Do you remember running up Cornhill with Seamus Lee or Seamus Quinn?
Oh, I do.
Do you remember? Just talking about like looking at players that were like me. I was a very strange human. I remember Seamus Quinn will back up this story. We were running up Cornhill for an hour, and I was moving fairly well. That's back when I was fit. And we came down off the hill and we got into the cars. We're up on, I think it was Dermy Rowley's. It'd be cousin of Seamus, I think. That was his land. But I was getting into my car on you, but I was taking off my wet jacket, and I had a weights vest on. Do you remember that?
I remember well, yeah. I couldn't believe it, because my tongue was rubbing off the ground.
Seamus Quinn pulled up in the car, and I won't say what he said, but his words like. But you have to do an hour and a half running straight up Cornhill with a weights vest on, yeah. Do you know? Like if I seen a lad doing that now, I'd slap him.
Yeah.
Do you know? Like that's just pure madness. Pure madness.
Yeah.
But
he wasn't going to change you at that point.
I definitely would have changed my philosophy. Like young lads now, if a young lad came to me and said, "Look, I'm going to America for a few weeks," that's no problem. Go off, look after yourself. You know, whatever you're going to do over in America, if you're going working for a few weeks, work away, enjoy yourself. But I said, when you come back, we're going to work. But I wouldn't stop him. You know, like life is too short. Like you would have known over the years more than me. You'd have missed out on an awful lot of weddings. The more than most county players, they've gone to all their friends' weddings, and they're gone home at 10 or 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
that's tough out of staying too. Like.
Yeah. So you look back, you kind of you can look back and be, it's worth it when you get. It's worth it when you get a bit of success, like, but you do. It's hard not to look back at times and go, well, look, I could have gone away for a month or two there in the summer. It wouldn't have made a big deal.
But then if you didn't, if it didn't pan out, you'd be the worst in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
Like I remember hearing a story now that I think it was John Torr. That John Torr was he couldn't sleep the night of a county final. Or the evening of a county final, I wouldn't say couldn't sleep, but he was probably restless, probably just thinking about the game. And he rang Daddy. Daddy was over the team. And Daddy said to him, "Where do you go for a pint, John?" And he said, "Somewhere down in Drumnish or whatever." He said, "You go down and have a pint or two and might help you sleep." And I think before John Torr had gone down to have a drink, someone rang and said, "Jesus, Killoe boys are out in the town. They think they have this wrapped up." But as Daddy said, John Torr went out the next day, man of the match.
Yeah.
Man of the match. Do you know, like, and my Mulligan mentioned it there, like a couple of pints. A couple of pints is not going to take away from any man's fitness level. Fair enough if you're out Friday, Saturday night every weekend and you're drinking a skip of drink.
That's a different story, yeah.
That's a different ballgame. When you go out after a match, that used to be very enjoyable, and you boys talked about that already. Like I remember coming home from league matches, and you'd stop in, not me as a young lad, but you stop into that local club, and they had sandwiches on. They put on sandwiches and tea, and you had a few pints, and you went home. Now I know drinking, driving, and that's put a stop to a lot of that.
Great old social time, though.
That was definitely, that was a very enjoyable time.
Yeah.
That you could go in there and you could have the crack, and you could on. Now you just play the match into a car, home, gone.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Yes, it's changed so much. Your most memorable sporting achievement, Joe, to date?
You have it on the screen, Sean.
I got lucky with it, did I? You've had a lot of. I'm sure you've had a lot of moments. A lot of special moments.
There's a lot of special moments. Yeah, they'll be over time. That one we have with Stephen now is probably, it's up there as number one. I'd say it was one thing that would be always on my head. Stephen would have been 24?
24, yeah, 24.
I think he was 24. So, and in my head at the time, I was very lucky enough to win that championship in 2014. But my thinking was that if he was 24, he'd have been playing with us.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know? But like, even there's another picture, Sean, I don't know if you've seen it. There's a picture where it's actually over his head, and his facial expression in the picture, that's just...
Yeah, I know, it's unbelievable. Because there's a great one even from I know that one is even more important, but there's a great one from last year too, lifting it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I suppose that's something you always wondered about, Joe, Steve, wasn't it? Like that.
Yeah, that he missed out on so much. But like, does he miss out? He gets everything. The Gosson is blessed.
Happiest man in the world.
Oh, happiest man in the world. You know, brought here, there, and everywhere. He gets everything he wants. But he's a pleasure, Sean. You know, and
Yeah,
that was one.
he loved the moment too, though, isn't he? He was like,
I'd love to talk to him. I'd love to, you'd love to know. Like that to me was a gift to him.
Yeah.
And his facial expression after he lifted that trophy, and the boys, you can see them in the background getting ready to shout and roar. But when they lifted the lid off that now with roaring and shouting, like, and his facial expression gave me everything I needed in Gaelic football, to be honest.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Yeah, he is unbelievable, Steve-O.
He is, surely.
I'm very, very grateful for him. I want to bring up, we're talking about county setups, and we'll draw you back to when we were on county development squads when we were younger. I do always laugh at
together,
this.
yeah.
Yeah, when we were together, I do always laugh at this when I see county squads nowadays, because they're so well organised and they're so well drilled and there's loads of good people involved. And I remember us going to a blitz in Mullingar one day on a Saturday. Now, there was a good few of these.
Yes.
But we were rough and ready.
I actually think I know where you're going with this now.
We were rough and ready anyway, but I remember we were in the dressing room and we were like a bunch of lads that were just picked up at the house, threw onto a bus and brought up to this blitz. But we came out anyway, and I remember Westmeath were there. There was some other local county teams there as well, and they were all kitted out in the uniforms, and they were really well drilled, and they looked the part. Where we were scattered, some of us warming up, some lads were over hanging around.
And probably had club shorts on, club jerseys on.
Yep.
Different, multicoloured setup.
Yeah. And
that's under 14, isn't it?
Yeah. The blitz went on.
14,
yeah, blitz on. Martin McHugh was over at the time.
Martin McHugh was right.
Leitrim goalkeeper, yeah. And the blitz went on anyway. And we were getting thumped in most games. But I remember this sense of uneasiness broke out in the squad anyway. And I just had this scene in my head of our squad, 40 of us, mind you. There was lads climbing up the goalpost. There was fellas standing up on the crossbar. The other 20 were on top of Martin McHugh in a melee on the ground. And I had to laugh because I was just thinking, like, imagine being a coach on the Westmeath with the Westmeath crew looking over.
It reminds you of like a scene out of the Mighty Ducks. He'd look over an hour long for team and he'd say, well, at least them boys are having fun.
But that's true. Maybe we had the right idea at the time. We were enjoying it, like, Probably half of the lads in the Westmeath squad probably never played more.
Most of that, actually, that was a very successful group, because you would have played with an awful lot of lads that you played the whole way up until senior and including, and you would have played lots of years with a lot of them lads that you played underage football with.
Yeah, it's changed time. Remember the little tokens we used to get after the Saturday training session, up to Luigi's for the snack box and the.
But your Longford, Sean, was way ahead of itself. We were making gains at that age. we weren't burning off as many calories in the county training session as we were eating in Luigi's after. We were getting milkshakes and snack boxes after training with a little stub of a ticket.
Yeah, and then you'd be absolutely delighted. There'd be the odd Saturday where a fella go home without getting his, and you might get 2 tokens.
Lord of mercy on Paddy Doris.
Poor old Paddy, yeah.
Poor old Paddy Doris. Paddy Doris sitting in his car the whole way up, might even rob a ticket off him. He was always the man that had the tickets.
Yeah, and Ted.
And he'd have them left in the car. You could go over, if you were lucky and he wasn't there, you could rob an old ticket off him and get an extra snack box and a bag of chips, or a snack box and a milkshake. But then we got very conscientious after that. It was 2 years later we got protein milk in a Mars bar.
That's right. I'll tell you, we tried every avenue, didn't we? We
Yeah.
finally got it right. Oh, Lord bless us when you think about it.
Ah, sure, look, sure, great times, eh?
Great times,
Great
funny
times to
now,
look
but
back at it,
oh,
right?
that makes me laugh still to this day. We're just like wild animals for helping a bus. And I had to, yeah, the man mentioned already, but massive congratulations to yourself
Ah,
and
thanks,
Miguel.
Sam.
You're after bringing a little gem into the world, Paddy.
Little Gem is right, yeah.
And I suppose I want to ask you, Joe, like you're a father now, and you're looking after Paddy, and what will you want for Paddy growing up, based on your own
That's a good
experience?
question, isn't it? This is a tough one. Well, hopefully he's better luck because we were unfortunate. It must be in our genetics. Your father had a bad knee. My father had a bad knee. I had a bad knee. Little Terry had a bad knee.
And I'm developing one at the minute.
You're developing a bad knee. This Goss's knees are all right at the moment. Let's hope it stays that way. Look, you'd love it's a tough one, Sean, because it's actually hard to know. I was thinking about this after. Where will club football be when he's able to play it? What will club football look like in this country in 10 years' time, 15 years' time?
Yeah.
If he wants to play football, he's more than capable of, or more than willing. I'll help him out the best I can or whatever. But
And there'll be so many opportunities for him. There's a lot of opportunities for kids. I remember I was working in Lanes for a school there a few years ago, and I had the little the junior infants there, and I was there a couple of weeks, and then the principal told me, "Oh, your class have hip hop next week."
yeah,
And brought them down to the hall, and they had a hip hop teacher, and it was brilliant. Like
yeah,
it was just it was so different. I was just thinking to myself, like, the importance of giving children opportunities like
oh,
that from a
definitely.
young age. Like when we grew up, and I'm sure like many other areas, it was all football, football, football,
Yeah.
football, football. You were surrounded by it.
If
You
you were
didn't,
if you were brought up in a football house, you played football. If you were brought
yeah,
up in a bowling house, you played
there was
hurling.
nothing else to pull you away, kind of, and I think then as you go on, you kind of, when you come to the point of when maybe you finish up playing for whatever reason, or at different stages, I think that's where it kind of hits you, where you're like, right, what else have I gone on here?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I look at him now, and I don't know, but the PE background, the first thing that I'd be doing with him is gymnastics.
Yeah.
I think gymnastics is fundamental. No matter what sport he wants to do, gymnastics is key to it for his flexibility, his mobility, and
Getting them
that kind
function
of.
from a young age, very
Ah,
important.
yeah. When you think about, like, you'd be very surprised that young students coming in first year and their basic skills, their fundamental movements, like you're bouncing, you're catching, you're skipping, you're jumping, you're hopping. Like I'd say a lot of young people now are spending time inside on a PlayStation or a computer or something. Like they're not outside. They're not outside rooting around the garden or playing. I don't know. Like it's just, I think that as we said already, the younger generation is just a different generation than what's
Yeah.
gone before them. Like, then
Yeah, and then the generation
every,
before us was more physical and outgoing too. I suppose it's ever changing, but I suppose that key thing is always going to be there. Like, get moving. And I think from a young age, I see, especially with young kids, you see them 4 or 5 years of age, and you can see the functional movement issues at that stage.
yeah,
At that stage, the age they're at, and I think that's where you have to get them.
yeah, no, definitely. But then you see, like you as a national school teacher, like you were flat out teaching everything. Like, where do you get time to do all this? Like before they come into me, like I'd nearly go out on a limb and say, by the time they come into me in first year, they're at a disadvantage if they haven't got the basics. Like they're
Yeah.
12 years of age at that stage.
That's where their clubs come in, That's where their clubs come into play, I suppose. And it's like, there's stages. Maybe from a young age they could maybe just do more that way, for little kids, just getting them moving, making movement skills fun. And because if they're functioning well from a young age, it's going to benefit them so much.
Ah, definitely. With injury prevention more than anything else,
Yeah.
they won't be picking up knocks and bangs. And then you see, once they're exposed to this at an early age, you'd be hoping that they'll maintain it throughout their life and that they live a healthy and active life. Even it doesn't have to be football, but like you'll see a lot of people, like in the GAA, a lot of the past players that have finished playing, they're still at that competitive edge. You see them on the road cycling or running.
Yeah.
You can't let it go. Like, so it's not as long as you're physically active when you're just looking after yourself. It doesn't matter what you're doing, any sport, you know. And that's even for like views from fatherhood. Paulie can do whatever he wants, but he will be doing something. He won't be sitting in. He won't be sitting in front of a PlayStation. He
Yeah.
won't get a PlayStation.
Poor Paddy.
It's an Xbox up here in this house.
We have to do something about that. Yeah. And sure, look, he's taken after me and you from a young age too, with the appetite he has already. I believe.
Yeah.
Wants to keep him away from the sausages now, and he'd be okay.
Yeah, we'll have to give. Yeah, you told about sausages.
Yeah, we won't go into that.
No, we leave that.
He's it's great, and it's great. You're getting to spend so much time with him now as well. Like that's the
silver lining to this.
One silver lining.
This whole 7 or 8 weeks is like most fathers would never get the opportunity to spend 24/7 with their newborn. Like to be back at work after a couple of weeks, or even the very next day.
It's hard, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm blessed that way, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Joe, you're on the spot questions. What advice would you give to your younger self from your experience to date?
When you look up and you see Sean off his man, give him the ball.
Oh, quit, will you? You wouldn't believe how much that played in my mind for years after. Like, it was kind of.
That's not your fault.
No, but I was kind of annoyed at you a bit. Not annoyed, annoyed because of what happened to you afterwards. It was like, you just give me the ball. You know, it would have been.
Stop.
It wouldn't have happened, you know. And but look, sure, it happens. I'm sure. I've often, you know.
But look, Stan, to be quite honest, there's an awful lot of people worse off.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
Like, you have to be happy for everyone we have. Like, and when you read out that list of achievements there at the very start of this, when you put it on paper, it's fairly phenomenal too. So
it's it's actually it's a few it's what few people have noticed when they have to do something like that. We don't do it enough, you know.
No.
When you sit down and you go, you know, wow, yeah, there's a lot there and there's a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Number 2, what player did you most admire as you grew up?
What player did I most admire when I grew up? That's a good question. There'll be a few now.
When you were younger, you were a massive Peter Canavan fan, were you?
I was, yeah, but even we'll say locally now would have been Paul.
Locally, I got drifted away there. That came into my head.
Locally Paul, and I'd say that was down to
Paul Barton, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been down to him with Tommy training Clongrish, and you know, you got to see him up close in training sessions. You know, that was a good time just to be around someone like that, you know.
Yeah, of course. Great. Joe, thanks so much.
Stanley, it's an absolute pleasure.
That was your story is very important because there's an awful lot of guys who have been through the same and are probably going through a situation like that at the moment. And, you know, if they can take something from it, some sort of hope, some sort of opportunity, you know, I know, unfortunately for some, it doesn't happen. But look, there is a bigger picture, of course. But
definitely a bigger picture.
We're keeping in the sporting context here, and we're dealing with all aspects.
There's an awful lot of life to live outside of football too, and lads kind of can lose the run of themselves and they can get into that bubble. You know, that football. But sure, like when you actually retire and take a step back, it's not the be all and end all of everything either. Like, it's great to have a few championships, it's great to talk about it, but sure, what's that? A 10-minute conversation in a pub talking to somebody that might have a championship or might not have a championship. There's so much more to life than you know, football. So don't just young lad.
And then the other side of it is, like, you know, when you give it a go and you seize the opportunity, you know, it is lovely down the line to meet your.
I don't have any regrets.
Meet your teammates and talk about the good days.
Yeah,
so it's great to have that.
But that's actually where you'll enjoy it more, and people don't realise that you're after summing it up there, and you don't have to win a championship. The best part of this is when you sit down with a group of players that you've gone through a season with. It doesn't have to be a successful season, but you can sit down and you can have the crack and reminisce on the past. Yeah. Like, great if you can talk about winning a championship, because when you win a championship, that means you've gone the whole way. But like, you don't usually sit talking to opposition teams in pubs talking about championships you've won or they've won. Like, it's not, you know, it's personal. It's for you and the group, and I think it's very special. That's the one big thing that football has, and I keep going back to, is that group. And that's the one thing that I miss from playing, is the huddles. Going into a huddle there, linked arm to arm with lads that are fighting the same cause that you're fighting. It's nice.
Very unique, Joe. Well said. Great one to finish on. Joe, thanks very much.
No bother at all, Stan.
We'll talk to you soon, my
You
friend.
keep up the good work, my friend. This is I'm actually enjoying all these podcasts.
Thanks very much, Joe. I appreciate that now. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Talk to you there, lad.
Good luck, Stan.
All the
Good luck.
best. Good luck.